Hello. Hello, everyone. Hope everyone's doing... Oh, got some camera lag. Hope everyone's doing all right tonight. Back with some tea. All right, I guess we'll address the elephant in the room. Unfortunately, tonight, I was not able to stream about the Nintendo drawer. I wanted to stream about the Nintendo drawer, but, you know, it's all right. I talked about it last stream, which was Wednesday. I got a pre-production, not really a review sample because it's not production hardware, so I can't really call it a review. But I can show you it now, and I can talk for a second about it, right? So I got a Nintendo drawer, which is the replacement cartridge slot here for the original NES, the front-loading NES. This is the one from Reventlow, aka Blue Shell, and Rocker Gaming. That, you know, it's quite the engineering marvel. They have this sort of slidey piece. You might have watched, Macho Nacho's video about it, but I'm not really going to talk about it because I feel like this is not indicative of what you might receive, because you can't. Not only does it have death grip, but it's the worst death grip of any slot, NES replacement slot that I've got. So I had talked with Rocker last week, and he was going to send me a replacement cartridge connector, but it didn't get here in time. UPS kind of dropped the ball, so it's unfortunate, but that's right. So instead, tonight we're going to move on to the next thing, which is move the Micro 8088 forward. So if you don't know what the Micro 8088 is, Micro 8088, did I say too many 80s? I don't know. Micro 8088 is basically an open source IBM XT computer. Not quite. It's a clone, I would say, because it doesn't use an original IBM BIOS, but it is an 8-bit computer, and it's going to run DOS. So we're working our way to be able to run DOS. And actually, with everything tonight, everything that we're working on tonight, we won't be able to run DOS tonight. It's going to take probably 2 streams to fully actualize the parts that we've got tonight. So tonight I'll do my best to get as far with the assembly as possible, but it won't be until after we flash the BIOS and get some other things configured before we can actually run it in the computer. But I guess I'll show you where we are at with the computer. I'm not going to boot it up, but I'll show you the computer itself. Oops. Hello? Oh, it would help if it's turned on, right? It would help if it was turned on. Oh, now I have to probably boot. Refresh. There we go. Okay. So it has this nice 3D printed enclosure. Ignore this board here, because this is actually just a VGA graphics card. But so far our progress is just, obviously I printed the enclosure. I didn't really make a stream about that, but I used my 3D printer, got this enclosure. But the first series of streams I built the first two videos, I guess, I built the CPU card, which is this top card here. Are you going to be doing any 8088 assembly programming for it? No, I won't be. I mean, unless... yeah, I won't be. That would be kind of interesting for me personally, but as far as this project is concerned, you don't really have to program anything. It's all kind of freely available, which is the best part, I think. So the CPU card is this. Hey, Belmont. And then the other thing that kind of makes this whole little mini computer, because this is a pretty small computer. I mean, it's not really. It's nowhere. It's like maybe like an eighth the size of a real IBM. The thing that makes it work is this backplane. So this is just an 8-bit ISA. I can't even call it ISA because technically I think ISA is 16-bit. So, but you know, near ISA, I guess ISA, whatever. Or is it EISA? EISA is what 16-bit was. I don't know. You can connect. So first of all, the CPU runs through this backplane. CPU board, I mean, runs through the backplane. But then all of your expansion just runs through this like a normal IBM would. And you know, this is just the great grandfather of any modern computer. So this is a graphics card here. This is what I was just using for testing, but I used it to make sure that the CPU card worked. So I think I have a short clip on Twitter about it booting up. So just take my word for it that this will work. I will show it working, kind of, you know, the parts that we're working toward adding tonight. You know, we'll be able to visualize this actually all working. So the third phase, I suppose, will be the video card, but since I already have a video card just to test with, obviously the front of the case is not, this video card is super long, so I didn't have the front, hey Bartleby, the front of the case on. But this project, I suppose, Sergey Kiselov, I think that's how you pronounce his name, he also made a VGA card, so we will be testing a VGA card. ISA was 8-bit, EISA was expanded. Ah, interesting. Hey, RS Matrix. So, because I have a VGA card that we can test, I want to kind of skip it for a second and get some storage going and the floppy controller going. So probably most people who are interested in this stream, you're probably older than I am. If you're my age, I'm 34. I'm pretty young to have ever used, I was not born when this 8-bit, you know, 8088 processor hardware existed. This would have been like early to mid 80s. So I was not born yet, but I'm very interested in it. And I watch a lot of Adrian's Digital Basement. I binge watch those videos. No, wait, you're wrong. ISA was 16 and ES. Oh, okay. So like what is it? Why am I forgetting the word? It wasn't until PCI, I guess, and like maybe AGP, I guess. Well, maybe PCI, because I know there's also, well, the 486s, there was something different. There was a third. So like, if 8-bit is only one slot, 16-bit adds another connector. That's 16-bit. But then 32-bit, there was a version for 486 motherboards that was all the way out over here before they moved to PCI, which had a 32-bit single slot. Okay. So where we're going, I'm going to try, I would like to kind of give a little bit of backstory about the two things that I'm going to be building tonight, which is, well, and kind of talking about tonight, which are an XT-CF card, and I'll kind of explain what that is. That's if you don't know what that is already, that is sort of a little bit hard to explain. It's not hard to explain in the context of this, because all you need to know if you're building one of these from scratch yourself is this is what I need to get storage on my computer. But if you're coming from a background before, like if you're used to an original IBM or something like that, you might already be, well, it's kind of a weird thing. So anyways, we'll get into what XT-CF and XT IDE is. We'll talk a little bit. I'm not like an expert, but we can look at the project and stuff. And then the other card, so that's the first one of the cards we're going to work on. The other card is a floppy controller / serial input. So floppy controller is kind of straightforward, right? It lets us connect a floppy drive. And I'll probably be using my flash floppy, or not flash floppy, my open flops, which is a clone of the Gotek. So if you know of Gotek are these cheapish floppy drive emulators that let you put floppy images onto a USB drive. The open flops is a clone of that. So it's an open source version of the Gotek, but it runs the same flash floppy firmware. And I kind of like the open flops better because actually, I don't know, maybe some versions of the Gotek have, you can get it with a little beeper that makes it sound kind of like a clicking of a floppy drive. So there is actually space in this tiny little case at the very top to mount a 3.5-inch floppy drive. So, and it kind of comes out the front, which is really cool. I mean, there's a lot of good use of space, I think, in this little case. I guess the other thing you might be wondering about, besides this, ignore this. This is just one of those cheap things on Amazon that's just a power button and a reset button. I've just wired them to the jumpers on the different spots on the board so that I can test it. So kind of ignore that because that won't be in the final project. I'll get to the chat in a second. I just want to finish. So if you look way down here, I think I might have talked about this on another stream, but this is the Pico PSU. This is the one from Minibox. Is that what it's called? Is the company? Something like that. Minibox, I think. And it has, this is the non-XL version or non-XT version or whatever, which has it has this barrel jack. So this barrel jack is basically, it runs to a power supply, an external power supply, and then it goes through here, and the backplane that we have in here is actually just a standard ATX style, not AT style. So, for all intents and purposes, I suppose if you wanted to, you could use a modern power supply, but we've got this in here, so it kind of makes it really compact. Okay, I say it was backward compatible with 8-bit. Oh, that makes sense, especially when we're going to talk about IDE and stuff a little bit. And I know IDE is a 16-bit interface, and I know you can run some IDE stuff on 8-bit. Gonna grab some ice cream. That sounds sick. You'll keep the stream on your phone. That's dedication. Hey, JD Silva, how you doing? I'm doing good. I'm excited about this project, if you can't tell. this next phase of it. Hey, Cooper. Oh, Cooper. Hey. Oh yeah, Cooper. I don't have any links to them or anything, but I have. I mentioned. I don't know if maybe I'll retweet. He's built one of the, he or they have built one of these already with all the different parts. There's even more than I think that I'm gonna do. There's like a real-time clock card and as a networking card. Like maybe we should like get to the point where we can have a networking on this and like go on some BBSs or something. That'd be kind of cool. Visa, yes, Visa local bus was the 32-bit thing. That's what I was talking about. PCI started 32-bit. Actually, it was PCI first, or was that Visa local bus first? I'm not sure. Because I know PCI was about the same time as Pentium, if I don't remember. The original Pentium. Or no, yeah. Was it Pentium? Yes, I think so. That seems like a totally real... Yeah, this is a little... Well, this has been... Actually, I bought this way back when everybody was getting into crypto mining or graphics card mining. So I had a meager 2 GTX 4070s. Or no, not 4070s. 1070s. That's why I have a 1070, is because I bought 2 of them to cryptocurrency mine, and I did not make my money back. So I had this on my on a rig, so I could just kind of turn it on and off. I put a real floppy in yours. Yeah, that's cool. I appreciate real floppies. I just don't have any real floppies, and not that I'm anti-physical media. I don't necessarily need that in my life. I have been there. I used back when I was in middle school, and I don't know, maybe it was probably just middle school when I had to start writing papers and stuff for school. I had to save them on floppies. That's like my experience with floppies is from middle school. Hey Merlin, how you doing? You want to know emulation? Yeah, that's a thing to be proud of. I think if you can get to a point where you can I guess if you had a bundle of those floppy disks. The thing is, there's so many. Well, I suppose that's fine because you can always just dump stuff straight to the compact flash card. So we'll get to how the storage aspect. So I suppose that's kind of cool, but I like the fact that you can copy stuff and run programs directly from the floppy, or I'm going to be running it from the floppy emulator. Yes, you're right. Okay, I just see you sneakering at the CF card. Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. Having 2 CF cards actually would be cool for that. He is fine. Okay. Gonna run DOS 4. I'm not sure, because I have a 286 and I think it ran pretty recent DOS. I don't know if it was 7. I know that the later the version of DOS that you run, the more memory it takes up. But I had just a relatively standard 286 machine. I mean, obviously that's faster than with a 12 megahertz CPU. So I mean, obviously that's faster than this. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see how it goes. whatever version. I'll have to Google it. I didn't really get that far yet. We're definitely not going to be able to boot this thing tonight. We have to do a lot of just part make stuff. All right, so I've talked a lot. I need to address the fact that this is a sponsored stream. I should have brought that up earlier, but I like, talking with people. So consider this the beginning of the actual content. I know we kind of already talked about it a little bit, but where's my little thing here? Wait a minute. So we have a sponsor. I've had a sponsor for a long time, and I really appreciate them. And I'm stalling for time so I can get the PCBWay logo on the screen. Yay! So I built my PCBWay built all or produced, I suppose. I guess they didn't necessarily build anything yet, or anything. They produced the PCBs that I'll be using. So I do have a box. Let's do one of these. I want to just cover this stuff first, and then we'll talk about the actual projects. But I will unbox these things because this is kind of, not to like, what is that? Wizard of Oz myself, but like they asked me to do certain things to, fulfill the sponsorship stuff. So we're gonna do that. But we've got this nice box, and inside this nice box are these two packages that have already been opened. But we're simulating the opening experience. I've been running 6.22 version of DOS as it loads. Okay, that's probably what I might do. I think 7 is okay. So this is the floppy controller card. It does say ISA floppy disk and serial controller. I do love the amount of detail, I suppose. I mean, it's not that much detail, but you should see some of the open source projects that I've seen where, let me make this just a little bit smaller. Sorry, PCBWay. You guys are important. Oops. You guys are important, but it's more important that I make my point. Shoop. I love the amount of info that is on the silk screen, right? So you've got, copyright. That just tells you about when this design was made. Obviously, it's so this particular layout, which is version 1, I guess. So there has never been a revision of this, which is kind of interesting. Of this floppy controller card by Sergey is more than 12 years old. That's crazy, and it's still should be a viable thing. So we'll talk about the actual components as we kind of go along. But here's the this is, I guess I'll mention that this is not Hassel. This is Enig. It's not hard gold. There's an option. I guess we'll talk about. We'll go through both of these things. Then we can talk about the options if you want to produce these yourself. There's a hard gold option that pretty much doubles. It's probably like $200 a piece, or for a pack of 5. If you wanted 5 of these with hard gold plating on the fingers here, you might as well. You're talking about $200 just for the boards, or more per board. So Hassel or Enig is a little bit more affordable. So it's like, I don't know, $50 or $80. Still not super inexpensive, but yeah. So then the other package we've got is the same thing. Did I just... I unboxed the same thing twice. Nice. No, the other one is... Let's see, it's a little bit more modern, I don't know, it's the same year, I suppose. So this is an XT-CF-Lite. So the light is sort of an important distinction. And this particular version is sort of an interesting distinction. I know, I'm kind of like, I hope people aren't bored by all the info that I'm going to talk about, but I think it was neat. And I think that you'll appreciate the comparisons of the different types of, because there's a bunch of these different types of XT, that, this is what it is, right? This is just floppy controller, and we'll talk about that. But the XT-CF thing is where things kind of get nutty if you're already familiar with retro stuff. So, all right, so that's the boards unpacked. What I would like to do quickly is visit the PCBWay website to show you how you would order these boards. And at least, well, okay, how the settings that I used. That's what I want. That's what I should say. Okay, let me look over my giant thing, PCBWay. Okay, so I always go to PCB Instant Quote and then quick order PCBs here in the middle. Okay, so maybe we'll make it a little bit bigger. Okay. Oh, you can't see the sponsored by part. I don't have any sort of, oh well, whoops. I'm trying to make it, we'll make this a little smaller so it's not. Well, that was kind of a fail. The white in, we're on the PCBWay website. They get enough sponsorships. Get away. Okay. Okay. So really the only things that I changed when I ordered these boards is I went down. So I just kind of chose blue solder mask because that's just how Sergey's looked. And I'm like, I thought that was cool. And I guess IBM is sort of blue. I'll get to the comments in a second. I just want to kind of get, let me, let me cook. And I just chose white silkscreen, that's fine. So this is what I wanted to mention is there's this edge connector setting. And if you don't choose a setting and you're ordering these boards, it's probably fine. You can always add the chamfers. I guess when we go back to the overhead, I'll show you that there are chamfers on the connector, edge connector. But you can have PCBWay do them. I don't think it's that much more. I don't know why this $300 is there. But anyways, what I did was I chose edge connector, yes, and then beveling. I think ISA cards are 45 degrees. I think that's true. And then here's what you see if you choose hard gold. The prices just kind of fly out the window. So because I knew I was already going to do ENIG for the surface finish anyways, or yeah, ENIG, I just chose ENIG for the edge connector also. I don't think you can do, maybe you could do, if you didn't really care that much, you probably don't need to do the entire board in ENIG. You probably could do hassle for the board and then just do, that's interesting. See, it makes it more expensive. Oh, lead free. Oh, you can't do hassle with ENIG. That's interesting. Well, anyways, I just chose ENIG for the whole board. It just makes it easier. And then that's pretty much the only setting. So ENIG all the things, and then edge connector 45 degrees. And then upload the Gerber files, which I don't have the Gerber files on this computer, but you click this button, and then you find the files on your computer, and then you just add it to the cart. And so that's really what I did. Okay, so that's pretty much it. We're going to move forward to looking at the projects themselves. Which one is already up? Okay, so the floppy disk one is up first. So let me go back to the comments before I move forward. Inside this PCBWay box is a physical copy of Raid Shadow Legends. Yeah, right? That's awesome. Is there really a physical copy of Raid Shadow Legends? I only play Raid Shadow Legends using NordVPN. Yeah, right. On my what's one of those flavor of the month handheld computers on my Asus. Oh no, people don't like Asus right now. That's funny. I'm in line at Dairy Queen. You want anything? Oh, I want a cheesecake blizzard. That's what I normally get. Strawberry cheesecake. I think they used to call them cheesequake, but I don't know. I don't really get that. Well, I normally go to Dairy Queen for chicken strips. That's what I like to get. Like ice cream is fine, but if you're, I think most people are probably lactose intolerant, so you know how that goes. But I like the chicken strip and the French fries and the buttered toast that they give you. That's like, I don't know. That's what I go to. That's why I go to Dairy Queen is to get the food. Okay. All right. So we'll talk. So I mean, there's not a lot to talk about. You'll notice that on you got me. You'll notice that on most of the expansion boards that Sergey makes, there is actually a space for like an add-on ROM. And now this is the part where I'm kind of like inexperienced with, but I know at least that we'll get to the XT-CF card. With the XT cards, you need an XT, they call it a BIOS, but I think it's really like I guess maybe it's a BIOS, but it's like a ROM or like a program that runs after the IBM or the 8-bit BIOS, like the computer's BIOS runs. And it kind of gives more capability to the computer. So it's kind of like a driver, I guess, sort of. But it runs off of a ROM. And most of Sergey's boards, so like the floppy controller, I think this IC in the middle here is just a ROM that you can add whatever you want to it. But there also is one on the XT thing. And Actually, interestingly enough, which I think I'm going to have to go back and undo, you can, if you're building your own micro 8088, I think you can choose to add the XT BIOS or the XT, I guess they call it a BIOS, but you know, it's the XT program or whatever that allows this, allows the computer to use the compact flash storage. It's actually part of the computer's BIOS. Like it's tacked on to the end of the version that I programmed onto the chip that I've got, which I probably should not have done that. So I'm going to undo that because I think it's probably more likely that if somebody has an XT card, we'll talk about, again, we'll go back to that in a second. It's probably more likely that somebody will have an XT card that has its own BIOS ROM on it. So I want the XT card to kind of be self-sufficient. But I do have all the ICs and things. So if that means, you know, we might not populate that or something, I'm not sure what would happen if we populate or don't populate that. But I bought everything anyways for all the cards. So, and I guess what I'm trying to say is there's sort of an optional, well, if you do read the project here, it does kind of say that all these things are sort of optional, right? So if you only wanted the floppy drive controller and you didn't care about the serial port, which, by the way, the serial port is useful for using a serial mouse. So if you do want to, I don't know what programs use a mouse, at least, especially for the XT, but you can use a serial port mouse, which I've got one somewhere. I don't know, but we'll dig that out later or another day. So the serial port is for mice because there's no PS2 mouse port on this style of computer. So like the serial port is optional, as well as this, like I was saying, this 8 kilobit or kilobyte BIOS extension ROM. So that's just that. It gives you the additional functionality of being able to add another ROM to your computer. But I don't really know what other kinds of ROMs people will add. I mean, I think there is going to be one for the VGA card, and there's one obviously for the XT, but I don't know. If anybody knows, yeah, let me know. So I won't say that this is pretty straightforward, but as far as I know, there's the two chips of note are this PLCC chip here, and there's another one over here. This one here is this like all-in-one floppy controller chip. It says, I have one here on my desk, and it says copyright 1991, but I think this is a new chip, or like new old stock maybe. Wendy's honey mustard is the best, yeah. Nice. Populate it and program the ROM for the floppy card, but disable it with the switches. Let the micro 88. So there is a ROM for the floppy controller then? Oh, like a ROM specific to the floppy controller? Populate it and program the ROM for the floppy card, but disable it. Let the micro 8088 BIOS handle the XT-IDE-Lite. Populate it and program the ROM. So there's a ROM. I guess Cooper is, because he's the one that has already done this. So that means there is a ROM specifically for, I guess I should just read RTFM, huh? Oh yeah, look at that. Okay. Implements 3 functions: floppy disk controller, serial port controller. Oh, so that's a UART. The other PLCC is a UART controller, or UART chip, I guess, and a BIOS extension ROM. Builder can choose to build the card with any of the combination of these functions. For example, if the card is used in an XI, that was another different project that Sergey made, was this XI 8088, or an AT compatible system that has extended floppy support. The BIOS extension ROM is not required. Oh, okay, so it is required. Okay, so I'm used to a 286 or an AT computer. So yes, it sounds like there is a BIOS for the okay, so ignore what I said. If you're going to use the floppy drive controller, that means I think that you do need a BIOS with the 8088. Okay, that's good to know. So we'll circle back to that, but we need to figure that out. Interesting. No, I need the floppy ROM. Got it. Okay. Oh, I see. So I can just disable the one on the XTI. Yeah, I just want this to be self-sufficient, Cooper, so I think I will undo the one on the BIOS and add it to this, because if I ever want to like test another computer or like another AT, or no, another XT computer. I've already got this that I can just bust out and like pop in. So I want that to be kind of self-sufficient. So I'm going to undo or like just overwrite or change the BIOS that's already on the computer to the one that doesn't have the XT. But yes, that would be a good idea if I didn't care about that. Okay, so there's also crystal. Okay, so enough about the floppy controller. We'll get back to populating it in a second, and we'll kind of, I'll do my best. I'm not like an expert when it comes to different chips and what they are and stuff, but we'll kind of skim these different line item things in the BOM. I do want to mention that while I'm here though, that the BOM, the bill of materials, which is like the other part. So if you are going to order your own boards, you do need to acquire all the parts on the BOM. Now I'm a little disappointed, and it makes sense, I suppose, because these projects are a lot older. I think they're over 10 years old at this point. I don't know when these GitHub repos were created, but the bill of materials is not a file that you can just look at. Or when I built the main computer and the backplane, those projects had a link to a Mauser cart that had most of the parts already in there. I literally had to go through all the bill of materials and like copy the parts, go to Mauser, put them in there, and some of them are they're not in stock anymore, so I had to find alternates. But what I did was I switched between Mauser and DigiKey. So I checked Mauser first because most of the stuff was in stock in Mauser. If it wasn't like if it was out of production or something, I checked DigiKey. So most of the parts that I've got, I have a bag somewhere. Most of the parts I got are from Mauser, but some things are from DigiKey. So that's kind of how I did it. And it's a pain in the butt, unfortunately. Yeah, it's just what it is. So, and that goes for both of these projects. You're talking about okay, that was, okay. All right, let's switch over. So this is the floppy controller / serial controller card. So we're gonna do both of those. No, this is not what I want. So we're gonna do both of those, but let's hop back. Actually, let's make a duplicate. We'll go to, if you want to find these projects, you can just go to Sergey's main GitHub here, and you'll have to go to the repositories tab, and that has everything. It has some stuff that's even not part of this project in here. Excuse me. But you'll find the things that are ISA. Look for the things that are labeled ISA. So eventually we'll be building this ISA Super VGA. I did acquire one of these Trident TVGA 9000i chips already. So that'll be coming in the future. But we're going to do the ISA FDC, the floppy disk controller. And then down here further is the XT-CF-Lite version 4. So that's the other board that I've got. Now, I'm probably going to butcher this explanation, but I'll do my best. If you're coming from the background of an original IBM, like an authentic, not a clone, even if you had an IBM AT, because I have an IBM AT, which is the 286 version, and it was a pain in the butt to get an IDE, like something that was a modern-ish hard drive to store things. Okay, so in the beginning I was like, how am I going to do this? So I did some research and I watched a bunch of Adrian's Digital Basement videos, and those are very helpful because he has a bunch of series where he was repairing a 286. Originally, when you bought a 286, so the XT, which was the original IBM was the 5150. That did not come with a hard drive. That just had 2 floppy drives. So you would boot DOS off of one and then load your programs off of the other one, and you'd be up to the software developer if they were going to save to the floppy disk. That was how you saved. But when the 5160, no 51. Is it the 51, 50, 60, and 70? I don't know. So that was the original IBM PC. Then the XT came out, and that was the first one I believe that had a hard drive. And it wasn't the IDE bus. That came pretty later. It was this MFM. I'm taking some liberties just because that's what was in my AT. There was this MFM card. I don't remember what that stands for, but it was this other type of bus, different pins, different number pins, and it connected to a giant I wish I brought it upstairs, but I kind of don't really want to move it around that much. It was this giant honkin', bigger than 3.5 inch. It was like giant, 5 1/4 bit. It's called full height, which is a double 5 1/4. If you can imagine two 5 1/4 inch drives together, that's the size of the hard drives in the original IBMs. But it didn't, or I lost the card. So way back when, I had taken this IBM AT all the way apart, and luckily I didn't ruin it. I had most of the parts already, so most of the parts worked except for, actually, when I first started practicing to do my first retro console mod, the NES RGB was one of the first mods that I did. I practiced desoldering dip chips on, it was a Western Digital card. It was the MFM card for that IBM AT. So I basically, well, I probably could have resoldered it later on, but I think I threw it out, or someone threw it out in my family. So we threw out this Western Digital MFM card, and so it was basically, if you aren't familiar with original IBMs, the original BIOSes on the IBM computers, they were very strict with what hardware they worked with, especially the disk controllers. So like the IBM AT actually looked for the MFM card, and a MFM card. It didn't need to be like an IBM branded one. Like I said, there was a Western Digital one in there. It would not boot, or it would throw an error if the MFM card was not installed. So I went through quite a journey getting to, now I can use that computer with an XT card. But because the IBM AT is a 16-bit computer and has a 286, you can actually use IDE controllers with it. So back then, IDE was not integrated into the motherboard. Okay, that came later. That was probably Pentium. No, that probably would have been like 486 maybe. Were there 486s that had? Maybe, I don't know. But no, maybe it was Pentium. About Pentium was when they first started integrating IDE controllers into the motherboard. So you need an expansion card, an expansion IDE card, if you wanted to use an IDE hard drive. So it's kind of, you know, as a stopgap, I suppose. Well, okay. In order to, and it wouldn't work out of the box, even if you did have an IDE controller in your computer, in the IBM computer, it wouldn't work unless you use this project. This, we'll call it XT IDE, is like the larger project. We'll go back to the window capture. The XT IDE, the one that I'm using in my AT, of course this is not going to have a picture. This is what? -0 degrees. Okay, let's go to the one, XT IDE. Let's go to the one that I bought for, I think this is the one I bought. The one on TechSelect. This is the one I think, nah. No, this is not it. The one I have is just the ROM board, because I had a 16-bit IDE controller card. Late 46 DX4 boards and Pentiums for onboard IDE. Okay. Because I had a 16-bit IBM AT, I could use an ISA card, which is 16-bit, right? And so you get more bandwidth on the 16-bit bus than the 8-bit bus. So we're kind of ignore this 8-bit computer for now. We're talking about the IBM AT. So you can use IDE controllers, but you have to buy one of those as a separate card. So that would be its own thing. So usually those come bundled with both the IDE controller and a floppy controller. So you could use a floppy disk, and because the original floppy drives with those computers were also on that MFM bus. They were both on the same type. They were both the same type of connector. So it's kind of all or nothing. You use the old stuff and had the old connectors, or you had a mixture of both, or you went full IDE later. But that would have been a retrofit way later on. So I wanted to do the retrofit and use an IDE stuff because I was more familiar with that. But then I learned about this XT IDE project. Well, okay. Even if you did try to use an IDE controller with the original IBM PC, you wouldn't be able to, because the IBM, well, you might have been able to use certain IDE hard drives, but this XT project does a lot of things. Not only does it allow you to run, let me just show. Is it this? I think I've talked about this before, so I'm gonna kind of hurry along because I think people may not like my explanation. But you need this XT BIOS. So I guess think of it as two different things, right? So there's this XT, they call it the universal BIOS, right? Which is what I'm showing you here, which kind of gives older computers the ability to communicate with this, IDE bus, right? So using an IDE hard drive if you've got one, like a 3.5-inch disk, or more commonly now on these computers is compact flash. Compact flash actually uses the same interface as IDE. Okay, so that's one aspect, is this XT universal BIOS, which kind of gives the old computers the ability to use this IDE bus. Now, that's all well and good for 16-bit computers because that's really IDE. You don't have IDE on 8-bit computers, at least as far as I know. So that's where XT-CF comes. So let's go back to that. So XT-CF is, I guess it has kind of a long history, but long story short, it enables an 8-bit computer to utilize the XT BIOS and store data on a compact flash, which is technically IDE bus, kind of. I know there's a lot of shortcuts and not very well explained, but that's just what it is. So think of this as a way to use flash memory or compact flash to store things instead of using a hard drive. So this replaces a hard drive, basically. No IDE on C64, that's for sure. Yeah. CHS versus LBA era is super. Oh, because you're talking about that's Alteracious is talking about over the years, even through Pentium. Depending on which motherboard that you got, even at the Pentium 1 era, was a disaster because it was like some of them didn't support larger than like 2 gigabytes. So if you try to use anything modern now in an old computer, you basically need to use, you're kind of forced to use XT IDE to make things simple. So I just kind of go with that. There's really, I don't know if there's like more, there's not really a more original way to do it. What I ended up doing on my AT, the IBM BIOS is part of the problem. The IBM BIOS itself is part of the problem. If you want to ditch the MFM card, you actually have to use, you pretty much have to use a aftermarket BIOS. There's actually a couple of different aftermarket BIOSes floating around. So I think I'm using a Quad-Tel in my AT. All that really is doing, though, is allowing you to kind of ignore the errors. Like the IBM BIOS itself is like, hey, I'm looking for an MFM card, but you don't have one because you're trying to do something crazy. So by using an aftermarket BIOS, it doesn't even look for that stuff. So that's what I ended up doing to make my AT kind of more simple. But for this, I'm going to use XT BIOS anyways. So yeah. I always had auto detect hard drive BIOS support, even with my old Tanny RSX 1386. Yeah, there's a lot of hard drive stuff too. You had to know exactly how many heads and sectors and this and that on your hard drive too, and you had to type that in perfectly. So you had to know what type of hard drive you had. It wasn't just like nowadays we're so, you don't even know. If you're not familiar with this stuff, count your blessings that we have good auto detect stuff because it's awful and it's still awful now. But XT IDE helps a lot. So that's the BIOS part. Now then the way to connect the stuff is the CF part, the compact flash part. Okay. So that was probably a terrible explanation, but just know that this is how we're going to get storage on our Micro 8088. Now I think what you're looking at here, or this picture here, is the original, or one of the original versions of this XT-CF, which is the version of XT that is meant for 8-bit computers. Okay, this one uses a CPLD, and I guess there's a ROM on here, and so it's really tiny. There's really nothing much on this board other than the ROM. I think this is the ROM to boot the XT BIOS. the CPLD that kind of does the, it does the electrical connections between the 8-bit bus and the CF card, and back and forth with the BIOS as well. So this is a CPLD. So it's basically it's like a little microcontroller. That's the original, even though this is version 3, but this XT-CF, that designation is for this version that has the CPLD. Now, we're going to go back to the project, Sergey's projects. So he says that the XT-CF-Lite V4, which is Sergey's version, is a remake of James Pierce's XT-CF-Lite, which we'll talk about what that is, which is in turn a simplified version of the CPL-based XT-CF. So XT-IDE, I think, which is the original project maybe, or that's just the way you can do it on IDE. XT-CF is how you can do it on 8-bit. That's with the CPLD. Now XT-CF-Lite, we'll open that one. That is this project, which is basically, it does away with the CPLD, and it breaks it out into discrete 74XX based discrete ICs. So basically, instead of using a microcontroller to do all that stuff, it breaks it out into using these, whether that's more simple or not, I don't know. I guess you don't really have to program anything other than you have to flash the XT BIOS, but these are just discrete components. But the problem with this, not the problem really, because I would have no problem soldering this, but this original XT-CF-Lite version is SMD, surface mount. So the innovation with Sergey's version is his is actually all through hole except for the compact flash connector. So that's a lot. XT-IDE is 16-bit, XT-CF is 8-bit, XT-CF-Lite is a version that does away with the CPLD that uses surface mount ICs. Sergey's is a version of the XT-CF-Lite that uses through-hole. We did it! Compact flash. Now there's a word I haven't heard in a long time. Yeah, seriously though. I honestly had never purchased a compact flash card in my life before I got into these retro computers. So it's come a very long way. It's about the 45-minute mark. Yeah, I know. We're getting there, alterations. I just wanted to explain the project. I think the reality is that I'm not going to get through all these projects anyways, or at least I'm not going to be able to program and get the debugging and stuff done this stream. So I kind of have no problem with time. I know people want to get to the soldering, so we're going to bust it out. I don't know. So what do you guys want to see? Do you want to see the floppy drive or the XT? I think more people probably want to see the XT. But the floppy drive controller has some cool PLCC components on it. So now that I've gone through all the rigmarole, now we're going to actually build it. Okay, fine. We're good. So let's go over to the overhead. Ooh, again, we're sponsored by, sponsored by PCB Way. I don't have to leave this up here. I just for fun, because I created that. It took me all of 30 seconds to make that graphic. I don't know. CFs are super useful on old systems. Yeah, I like. It's interesting that they use the same. I guess I'll pull one out for all the people that are like, you should start soldering now. Sorry. It actually has the same amount of pins. I have these from AliExpress, this Transcend brand. I don't know. I've never used it yet, but it has all the same pins as an IDE bus, which is kind of neat. I didn't really realize that these were the same. And also there was the micro discs that the original iPods used these tiny. They were actually physically hard drives. They weren't compact flash yet, but they had the same form factor, which is crazy to me. Floppy, sponsored by Oops. Oh wow, okay, double floppy. All right. So like I was saying, I'm gonna get through as much soldering as possible on this stream, but I think next stream is when we're actually gonna be doing the soldering and programming. So yes, let's bust out my bag of tricks. See what I've got in my massive, not as massive as the Micro 8088 build was, but I've got a bag of parts from Mauser. Should test with an F3 probe or something to make sure it's legit. Oh, this? You're talking about this? What is F3 probe? I've never heard about that. Hey, let me make a note of that. F3 probe. Fight flash fraud. What? Block the probe a block device for counterfeit flash memory. Huh. How do you, what kind of a thing do you need to run this? It's a simple tool to test flash cards. Okay. Oh, so you could just use a USB. Okay, interesting. So this is a Linux app they have to run? Wow, okay. Yeah, maybe one day I'll have to, I do want to get a Linux machine because I think there might be some utilities that, all right. I'm super unorganized here. JP1, that's helpful. Okay, I hope they didn't mess with my, okay. I tried to put, if you look at the part numbers, the customer part numbers here, this is where you normally put your reference designator, which is this part actually. So, oh, I did want to mention that I like the detail on the PCBs, right? So I mean, almost, actually every single part has the reference designator, so like C2, and not only that, it has the value. So like this is C2, but it also is a 0.1 microfarad. So if you ever come across this card in the future, you don't even really need to look anything up. However, you know, that's assuming that there's no errors on the silk screen. But it is very interesting that pretty much all the details are on the mask, which is really cool. There's probably a Windows app. Okay, interesting. All right, so actually, ironically, this is going to be mostly like, what are these called? Sockets. There's not that many discrete components on this board. So let's see if we can weed through that stuff. Let's see if we've defined the, okay, so not the XT. So all the XT stuff goes in a pile. Okay, FDC. Okay, so that's some sockets for this, okay. I guess I didn't label whatever this is. What? Oh, these are just screws. I didn't put a reference on there. Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to, okay, JP1, like, I don't know. What did I do? I don't know. I don't know what, I don't know what that's for. Okay, we got U1, so that's the big, that's for a P1, so I'm gonna pull up the bill of materials for this floppy, so we can know what these are. What's P1? Oh, the pin header. Okay. Yep, for some options. Okay, so that's for this project, but I'm not getting there yet. Okay, that's for XT. Okay, I'm looking for the discrete components. I think all these the big stuff. Oh, okay. Okay, this is good. This is some capacitors. So let's bust. This is the first bunch of discrete components. F3 probe. This probe. Oh, discrete. You mean passives? Oh, okay, yes. I guess, is that what I meant? Like these, like capacitors, passives. Yes. Because discrete would be like ICs, right? Like, well, the discrete just means a single thing. Yes, you're right. That's what I meant to say. Good catch. All right, what do we got? Ooh, this is fun. Let's make a little pile. I thought don't these normally come on tape? What the heck? Oh, great, they're sticking to the bag. I hope there's 10 of these. And I really hate, I don't know, I kind of do it to myself, but I don't like how wasteful the amount of packaging is. Okay, so these are little capacitors. This particular type is, what? It doesn't even have the, doesn't have the value on it, but the board will. So I'm looking for C1. C1 or C2. Oh, so these are all my 0.1 microfarads. Okay. So here's C1. So let's just bust these out, I suppose. So let me get my iron on. Try to do this quickly. I know I always say quickly, and it's never quickly, but doing my best. I don't need that. Get out. Get out of here. I also don't work in electronics for my day job, so I say weird things a lot. Okay, so C1. gonna go boop, boop. And then I saw C2 before, right? C2. These are not directional, so you can just pop them in. I saw C4. Oops, come on, thing. Get off the... C4 is here. This is the floppy drive, right? Yeah, it is. I'm looking for C3 still. C3 here. Okay. Now I'm looking for C5. C5. Oh, so these are basically the filter caps, right? The ones that go for every IC. So like lower or limit the noise from the power rail, right? Something like that. Oops. Let's see, 7's up here. Dude, DigiKey is so bad about the amount of packaging waste in plastic bags. We get bags for your bags with the components in the bags. Yeah, yeah. C7, C8. I saw C9. C10 is, oh, C9. Yeah, I don't know. You know, there probably isn't a better way to do it, but like, I think they're really stringent. They're probably pretty stringent about static electricity, maybe. But yeah, just from the amount of orders they go through, they probably don't want people to be like, you know, they limit as much static as possible, probably. But it is bad, not good for the pinheader, the villain of my new horror series, Hell Solder. Yeah. Oh man, it's funny because I never would have seen myself be building a new 8-bit computer. Like if you asked me when I started my retro modding journey, I guess, if you asked me that if I was ever gonna work on vintage computers, I would have been like, no, that's too expensive. Yes, it is expensive, but I'm fortunate that I can, through the sponsorship, I can do it. But it's still, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you can do on eBay. I mean, you can buy a lot of good computers on eBay. You just gotta, you know, you can't. There's a lot of traps, I would say. Like 486 computers are a trap for sure, because they're not as powerful as Pentiums. So you can get a like an OEM, like my Gateway or whatever, or like a Dell or something. You can get an OEM Pentium build for cheaper than you can put together a 486 build. That's just my 2 cents. So there's a lot of traps like that. But I mean, if you're looking for even older stuff, then probably good luck. Well, that's not true. You can get some decent deals on 386 motherboards with the 386 in them. It's that's a good, if you want to do slightly older stuff. So 386 is good. 286. I have this 386 motherboard that it's pretty tiny actually. So I could make a quote unquote micro build with a 386. So that might be something that I would put together, or try to put together myself. Try to put together a machine. A little bit bigger than the Micro 8088, but in the same spirit, right? So it's a small form factor. I have my thing on, my air conditioner's on, and it's not allowing these joints to be good. Anyway, so I could picture myself doing a Micro 386 or something, design the case. I mean, because that'd be kind of cool. I mean, Sergey showed me the way, gave me the idea, so I could just make the same thing, but the dimensions a little bit bigger. I also bought a Bamboo Labs printer. It's coming this coming week. So, yep, that's the thing I bought. I don't know why, but well, no, I know why. I bought it for the AMS. So, all right, moving on to the next part. So XT. Put that in the XT pile. There's also the old thin clients. Yeah, that's an interesting idea because those thin clients are basically, oh, here we go, a little bit more caps. Yeah, thin clients are just tiny, older. I don't know. I don't know what kind of processors they've got. I mean, yes, you're right. If you're like okay, like with a time machine or whatever, like a newer computer. I don't know if that's technically it's not a time machine. I think a time machine is when you can actually lower the clock and stuff. Maybe you can on thin clients, but you can actually physically change the memory speed and the clock and of the processor and stuff to make it identical to those original machines. That's what Phil's Computer Lab calls the time machine. Oh, maybe we should cut these things off. I'm getting ahead of myself here. How do I do this without losing these all over my room? Anyway, so yeah, if you're willing to do like a newer computer, then you could do something like I don't know, Athlon. What are they called? The original Athlons, or like that generation of Athlon, instead of like a Pentium 4. So you can get a lot of Athlon stuff for cheap, pretty cheap. But the problem is the motherboards are junk. A lot of them are. Like the compatibility with stuff is just bad. Like I have a I think it's a Pentium 4, maybe it's an Athlon. That Dell computer thing, and it just doesn't like running anything that's not Windows ME. Like it just runs Windows ME. It doesn't like Windows XP. Depends on the thin client. Oh, okay, I see. I love the vintage computer arc. Depends on the thin client. Some are locked down, and some are basically secret PCs. Ooh, secret PC. Okay, so as far as I know, this is C15 and C16 are also not directional. So here's C15. These are 22 microfarad. I like these yellow caps. Yellow color is very retro. I don't know. I just like the look of these. The boards are just like, they look cool. Like, man, through hole is so cool. All right, what did I say? 15 and 16. I mean, I like surface mount too, but I learned a lot of stuff. I mean, it doesn't sound like I know that much because I kind of just got like barf it out. But I have, once I started like working on the IBM, and then like I had this clone 286. Like I went through so like I just did a bunch of research on stuff, and then I was like, well, you know, I've got a 286. Now I need a 386. Well, now I've got a 386. Now I need a 486. You know, well, I've got a Pentium 1. Now I need a Pentium 2. So like, it's bad. It's bad for my wallet. But I have them all now, and I can work on them in the future. You know, I don't need to do stuff with them right now. So yeah, it's fun. In the future, if I have more space, in the future, I would love to just have like have my own hacker space, like open one. That'd be super cool. Okay, so we've got those two capacitors. All right, see what else we got. Have you seen the throttle blaster? The throttle blaster that will slow down a more modern CPU with a Pi Pico all the way down to 4.7 megahertz. What? Throttle blaster. I've never heard of throttle blaster. Maybe I have, but K63, yeah, unfortunately the bad capacitor era. It's not a real 8088 if the case isn't beige. Yeah, you know what? I thought about that. I have the black already printed with ABS. I'll have to get some beige ABS, or like natural colored ABS. What is this? This is, no, I don't want this. I just started opening it instinctively without reading what it was. I don't need this part yet. Yes, I have to get some, especially now that I'll have an AMS, I could do the tube color printing, because the Micro 8088 case, front case, will actually have it taken off, so I can show you. Has a little, this is, is it stupid that I bought the AMS basically to do this. It has this little spot here that you can do in 2 colors, but I wanted to do that. I mean, I suppose I could have printed it and then printed over the print without taking it off, but I wanted it. I've wanted an AMS for a while, or a Bamboo Labs printer. So you say stupid, I say I can't wait. Okay, P2, I guess this is another, oh, this is the serial port. Okay, that's interesting. So we'll come back to that. What we got here? This is the U5 for the XT. Yeet. Okay, U2 for the FDC. Okay. XT U4. Okay. Whoa. This is the ROMs. FDC U4. Yep. It's not a real 8088 unless it's inside of an IBM case. Could you imagine all this tiny stuff inside of an IBM case with nothing else in it? It'd be the lightest IBM on the planet. Okay, this is U3. It's another IC. Okay, U5. Or it's either an IC or the... oh, also, going into this computer, I think, will be my PicoGus version 2. So I'm excited that I got this. It has the... USB, the Type A USB port that you can actually use like a controller, a USB controller with it. Okay, U8. Okay, we're getting to some more passives now. U8. Okay, what do we got? This is the XT R4. Ooh, this is a resistor array for the... Okay, so we can do this resistor array. That's fun. Different change. I love these resistor arrays too because they're such a different component that I don't see very often. So this is RR2, not R2D2. Okay, it's up here. RR2. Bamboo Carbon X1 will do a beautiful job. Yep. So I got the P1S because I don't really. I watched a bunch of reviews and I do need the enclosure, so that's why I got the P1S one and not the P1P. But it is a little bit slower, I've heard, than the X1. But it doesn't bother me. I don't need it to be like blazingly fast. And it was $500 less, so yeah. But I still think it'll do a good job. Mainly, I just wanted a backup printer. Although it's funny that I have a Bamboo Labs as my backup printer. It'll probably be my main printer, but I wanted a second computer. Oh, I didn't even mention, on these resistor arrays, there is a dot on the left side here. If you're looking at this black resistor array, there's a dot there. That will line up with, there is a square. I didn't even mention that. See how there's one of these pins has got a box around it? The circle goes in the box. That's how you orient that. I want to print some upgrades for my Voron, but I used to use an Ender 3. Actually, I printed a lot of my ABS parts on an Ender 3 inside of a Wham Bam enclosure, but that Ender 3 is tired. It needs a super duper like tune-up, and I'm just overusing that printer. So I got the P1S to help me print my Voron parts so that I don't. Because the problem is once you start printing parts upgrades for a printer, and like some of those potential upgrades can put it out of commission, like extruder upgrades and things, then what do? Like you're just, if something goes wrong and maybe you print the wrong thing, then you're screwed. So you kind of need, well, not need is a weird word, but I would need two printers because I don't want to be without it because, yeah. Okay, so that's the XT. I use it a lot. I use printed parts for the YouTube channel a lot. Okay, so this is for one is for the XT and one of them is for the Floppy Drive Controller. Your Bamboo Carbon X1 will do, oh, yeah. Yeah, I thought about the X1, but I couldn't justify spending the extra money. I couldn't justify spending the money that I spent. I just was like, heavy impulse buy. Okay, so this is for the RR1, which is down here. How are we doing on time? Okay, 10:10. Oh, also, I wanted to, if anybody knew that I got wireless headphones last time, the Anchor, no, the sound, yeah, the Anchor Soundcore, what are these called? I don't know, the Q30s or something like that. They don't sound like amazing. I would not really call them audiophile. I mean, they're not that expensive. They're like less than $100, but I have been using them a lot. Actually, the noise canceling, I've never owned a pair of noise canceling headphones, and I use that now all the time. Like, I use it when I mow the lawn. Like, I was very surprised at how much I ended up using the noise canceling. So that's a life hack in general. Like, if you like quietness, or if you just want to focus more, because I have actually I guess it is like a white noise generator, but it's a air filter, a HEPA filter running in my room here. And it just is like a constant white noise all the time, kind of. The noise canceling was such a nice change, and if I'm like watching a movie, it's nice because it lets me just tune out all this other stuff, and I can focus on that. So yeah, that's a big dub if you don't have noise canceling, and they're not really that. You don't need to get like crazy Apple headphones to get a relatively good pair of noise canceling headphones. So that's kind of a life hack. I don't come for building a computer, stay for life hacks. I don't know. Okay, what do we got? Next for the XT. That's for the XT. That's for the XT. Get to the bottom of this bag. That's a diode for the XT. U4, the XT. Okay, this is U6 and U7 for the floppy. Okay, here's our crystal for the floppy. This is a 24 megahertz crystal. (24 megahertz). And again, I guess I always ask if these are directional, but I don't think they are. But I'm just going to put it. There is writing on it on these. I'm going to put it so that the writing is legible from the same orientation as the print screen, the solder mask, I mean. So like this. Boop. All right, crystal. Okay, see you later. But I'll have to acquire some, what is this? FTC C17. Okay. I'll have to acquire some filament. Okay, C17 I think is up here. This is 4.7 NF? Is that nanofarads? Is that smaller than micro? I think nano is smaller than micro. Maybe it's bigger, I don't know. Don't use that part of my brain. Just kidding. Okay. I don't know, does it feel like we're making progress? Maybe. 45 minutes tonight left. I think we should be able to get everything done on the floppy controller. Okay, now we're to switches on the floppy controller. I don't think there are any more passives in this bag. Nope. So that must be all the passives for this. The only thing that, Wait a minute. C12. Oh, perhaps C12. Actually, let me bust open the DigiKey box because there might be more things in here. It's kind of a shame. I have this knife that I bought when I used to work at a Boy Scout camp. So I bought this nice buck knife, and it is this is from like 2008, I would say, is when I bought this. It's called a spring assisted. It's not like a switchblade. Switchblades technically are out the front. So this is a spring assisted, but the spring is broken. One of the springs is broken. So what's supposed to happen is it's supposed to like fling up like that, kind of. But it's not very sharp. It's a cool thing. It's like, they call it skeletonized, this thing. Anyways, I just found this recently because I went to a Cub Scout camp and I wanted to put it together. But now I got to send it to Buck so that they can replace the spring. That's one of the cool things about Buck knives is actually they have a lifetime warranty, and they'll fix any broken parts. So I think they should be able to fix this. I should not be using this to open adhesive though, because it just gums up the blade for no reason. I should just use my hand. But that's just a side note. Okay, so let's scoop our other parts here. Oh, okay, so we have U2. This is a socket. Oh, the PLCC socket. Okay, for the floppy controller. P1 for the XT. Oh, okay, we have some more passives. So C11 through C14, so I missed some. Let's see. Okay, so that was that. So C12. Oh, okay. So, yep, got the ones we need right here. I always carry a knife with me, everyday carry. Had my Beretta. You have a Beretta knife, Beretta brand knife. Kershaw was a popular brand when I was in Scout. Oh wait, I don't need this many. I only need 4. 1, 2. I always like when I go to I don't go to Cabela's that often, but it's like I'm a nerd, right? I don't go to Cabela's really. It is a fascinating store. You walk into Cabela's and it's like, or I guess Bass Pro Shops is another one, and it's like there's just like a literal like fake mountain in it. Like it just makes you just things that make you go well, anyways, every time I go in there, if I walk past the knife counter, I can't help myself but to look at the cool fancy knives they got. Okay, so I'm looking for, so that was C12. I'm looking for C11. Yep. These are 10 microfarad. That was C11, C12, C13 is next. Oops. And C14. Okay. I'm not a big everyday carry kind of person either, and I don't mean like everyday knife carry. I just mean in general everyday carry stuff, because I know there's people that are way into it, like get a fancy like wallet or something, or just baubles that they keep in their pocket all the time. It's I don't know. I just usually rock my phone, my wallet. That's it. Keys. Well, I don't know. I don't necessarily like the idea of wearing a knife all the time, but I could see if you were. I don't do physical labor for a job, so like if I was in a place where like a shop, if I worked in a shop, I probably might, because I would want to open boxes or just get some gunk out or something. Yeah, I could see that being a lot more helpful. Well, I guess a box cutter, but box cutters kind of suck. Not that I have anything against people that have knives. It's just it doesn't suit me, I suppose I should say. But I suppose that means that I'm privileged that I live in a not dangerous area. I recognize the privilege. My knife is on the same level as a cell phone and wallet. Wow, that's interesting. Cabela's and Bass Pro is the same company. Yeah, I knew that. Just in a different spot. Place is huge. I know. We have Cabela's and Bass Pro. Wow. That's you're double dipping on the. Well, I do have to go there because I want to look for a jacket. I need like a spring fall. I live in New England, so we get like, it gets coldish in the spring and the fall. So like I don't really have a good jacket like that. I know nobody asked, but okay. I see. Oh, actually, you know what is interesting is if you've noticed that this, I don't know if you've noticed that I have this IC that has been sitting on my silicone mat here. This is actually I think it's a little microcontroller or a little PROM maybe. I think it might be a microcontroller. This is actually the microcontroller that I've needed for the CPU board. I have not actually been able to use the keyboard because I think that this is a tiny, AT-Tiny or something like that. This didn't work. This didn't flash. So I bought some more. So I'll have to flash those, I think probably next time when we end up doing the flashing. I'll have to do that. Or next time that I do this stream. Okay, now I think I can do these switches. So that's all the passives. Well, I guess, does a switch count as a passive? I guess it does, huh? That's all the passives on the floppy controller, I should say. Excuse me. Use a different knife at work. The one I carry in his case, I gotta defend myself. Yeah, sure. Actually, what's interesting about the one that I bought, the one that I showed you, is with Boy Scouts. I think it's a rule. Maybe it's an informal rule, at least for the camp that I worked at. I believe if you're in the Scouts, you're not allowed to have a pocket knife longer than the width of your hand. It's like 4 inches or something. So this knife I bought, it was the longest knife that I could buy, or one of the, I mean, I'm sure there's 1,000 of these size knives, but I bought this one in particular because they make the same kind of skeletonized one. It looks similar. Buck makes it, I mean. That is like only 3 inches, so it's a little tiny one. So for like whittling, maybe that's fine, or like if you need to like, doing, making a s'mores stick or something, but like, I don't know. I just wanted the bigger one. So, and there's also half serrated ones, so that's a kind of a Snapple fact. This is, I think in Boy Scouts, you're not allowed to have a knife longer than the width of your hand, fingers, or whatever, hand. Dube's flashing stream, multi-streamed on YouTube and OnlyFans. Oh, God. The heck? Okay, so these are all the same. Where's the... What did I just do with that? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. What? Shoot, I just had that connector packaged. I just threw it on the floor. Oh, I see. Flashing, as I said, flashing, like flashing ROMs. I get it now. Yes, multi-stream. Oh, here it is. I found it on the floor. I always just throw stuff on the floor. Okay. It must also be used on the XT because I have 3 of them, but it shows 2, and they're all the same. These are what? 8 position dip switches? Oh, these are rocker style ones. Wow, that's interesting. Normally the dip switches that I've seen have a little slider, but these are like rocker dip switches. I didn't even think about that. So like you toggle it and it pushes it up. Wow, that's cool, kind of cool actually. Huh. Different style of switch. All right, so this is for switch 1 and 2. Is this correct for this one? Okay, so here's switch 2. Where's switch 1? Oh. Oh, there's switch 2 switch 1 over here. Okay, switch 1, switch 2. Got it. Now I'm not confused. Now, as far as orientation, I guess I'm just going to have it legible. Oh, rocker down. Rocker down? What does that mean? I'm just reading the... I guess I'll if it's also this, it doesn't really matter because these are just bridging these pins, I believe. So is there any harm in me just putting it this way? There's no really like pin 1 designator on this, is there? Oh, there is. Okay, look at that. Sorry, I don't know if it's going to focus, but there is a little a circle on this end with some text here. So I'm going to guess. Oh, usually what? Pin 1 is usually the square. sometimes the square. I don't know. Sometimes the pin 1 is the square. So let's do, which just so happens to also be, you can read the wording on it with the orientation of the board. So let's just do that. You like that knife? Buck makes good. Yeah, I guess I didn't really think about it too much then. I just like, oh, this is cool, and just ordered it. It took a long time actually to come. I don't remember what website I ordered it from. It wasn't Buck directly, but I risked it actually not coming to me before the end of because I worked an entire summer. Like I worked at a summer camp, and I shipped it to the had it shipped to the camp. It's like, what happens if it didn't come when I was like, let's say it was the end of summer, and like, oh, guess I don't get my knife. I gotta know what I would have done, because I never worked at that camp again. I went on a camping trip last week to that camp, but in the Cub Scout spot. But I never worked there again. Sort of a weird long story about that. Maybe someday I'll tell it, but it's too weird for. I have a lot of weird, not a lot. I should say I have a couple of weird stories that are very strange that probably will never. But things remind me of it all the time. So. Yep, I taught in the handicraft, which was basically the arts and crafts kind of things, and I taught leatherworking with terrible tools, and wood carving also with terrible tools. That was my responsibility for that year, was to teach those 2 merit badges to kids. And let's just say that it's very difficult to teach, teens how to carve wood or punch holes in leather with not good equipment. So I blame the like director of our department, who was of the handicraft, which is just one of the guys. It was me and one other guy that ran all the merit badges for the handicraft spot, because it was like different spots in the camp. What is going on there? So, anyways, probably the lamest spot. I mean, I guess it depends on who you are or what you like to do, but I wanted to do outdoor adventure, which was all the like knots and camping and camping merit badge and other stuff like that. But I don't know. It's kind of dorky, but interesting life skills that I don't remember some of. All right, let's do switch 2. Some of the things I remember. Like I remember, because I'm an Eagle Scout, there are some, if you don't know anything about Boy Scouts, there's merit badges, what you earn when you are in Scouts. You earn merit badges. You also earn ranks, I guess. So that's separate from merit badges, but usually the later on ranks you need to get required merit badges to go to the next rank. Some require merit badges. So to get Eagle, there's a big list so these are all the required merit badges, like camping is one, I think, swimming merit badge is one of them, but there's also like, there's optional ones, like you could do one or the other, and it was like do emergency preparedness, which is all about like how to survive in the woods without, shelter, like how to make a shelter, like a lean-to, to protect yourself at night, and like what kind of food. So like I didn't do emergency preparedness, I did life-saving. So not that I was like a certified lifeguard or anything, but you do kind of like lifeguard sort of training. So like you have to do so swimming merit badge is like there's certain requirements to like get to swim X amount of laps or whatever, learn different strokes and things in there, because they was running a lake, so it was like a kind of a beautiful little spot to swim in things. But it was, if you've never gone swimming in a lake that you can't touch the bottom, it's rather scary actually. If you've never had to tread water before, like a pool is one thing, but if you've ever been in a pool that is deeper, a pool or a lake or whatever that's deeper than you can stand up, and you're not used to that, it's a very terrifying. Because if you're like, oh man, what if I get tired? you're just gonna freaking drown in the water. Anyway, so swimming is one thing. So like it's like the easier of the two, I would say. And then life saving, or is it? I think that's what it's called. You have to do a lot more. You have to like do a certain amount of laps back and forth every day. You have to learn certain techniques for like if somebody's struggling or if someone is having problems in the water, like what's the quickest way that you can get undressed to get in the water. So like you can if you practice it, I suppose you could practice taking your shirt and your pants off at the same time. So like you save time getting undressed as you're going to the water. It's like if you're not ready, if you see somebody and you're not already in your swimming gear, you know, you can like get down to your underwear as fast as possible, like, you know, so that's kind of interesting. You can use like a long sleeve shirt as a flotation device if you tie a knot in the sleeves. You can blow it up if you needed to make a float, and you just happen to have a long sleeve shirt. I guess it looked like you were in a ship and the ship went down or something, I suppose. But the most tragic, not the most tragic, but the hardest part of that was, well, there's two hard parts. One of them, there's this, I think it was like it must have been like a 50-pound or 60-pound weight that like looked like a person. Okay, I'm moving on to the next part. So just while I'm talking here, it looked like a person kind of, but it was like heavy, and they threw it in the lake, and it sunk to the bottom. It was probably like a 10, maybe like 8 feet deep. But so you had to go get this weight and lift it out of the water. So if you've never, obviously in the water is one thing because things are lighter in the water, but as soon as you get it out of the water, above the water, it's a lot harder because you have to heave it onto the dock. Freshwater lake where you can't reach the ground is scary, different from saltwater or even ocean. Yeah, ocean has undertow as well. Yeah, that's a different beast. Yes, I agree. Okay, so now I think we're on to, so pretty much everything is socketed. Oh, actually, I have to get the floppy connector. I have to find that. So the floppy connector, but all of these other chips, all the ICs, so like the U5, U6, whatever, those all have sockets, so I have those, and the PLCC sockets as well, so we'll do that, and the ROM, and the serial port. I think I'll wait for the serial port for last. I probably am not going to get to any of the soldering for the XT card. I will do it. You know what, actually, maybe should we just take a break and we'll do this? Should we take a break and solder this on? Or should we just do that first thing next? I'll solder everything else and then we'll do this with the microscope first thing next time we do this project. Okay, I'll just do that. So that was fun. The weight thing was fun. So what I was going to say is I will solder everything except, I won't put any of the ICs in the sockets. So I'll solder all the sockets between now and the next stream and all the connectors and everything. So it's basically this over and over again until you have all the things populated. You're really not going to miss anything if I'm doing it, without. But because this is the surface mount thing, maybe we'll do that with the microscope on camera. So, but all the other stuff is basically the same thing over and over again. So that was the first hard part. Was the this is what? This is U8. Okay. Oh, this is the clock socket. That's kind of interesting. Clock crystal socket. Does that mean this is overclockable? Wait a minute. U8. That's not this. That's not the. What? Oh, it is another. Maybe this is a customizable crystal, because this is a clock crystal too. Maybe this is a 124 megahertz, but for what? For the floppy controller, maybe? I don't know what the difference between this clock and that one. So the weight was difficult, but also, we had to practice if somebody was in distress. Like, so the merit badge counselors would, I guess they would like pretend to attack you, I guess. So like, let's say they were in distress, but they were confused or something. Let's say they got hit in the head or whatever. And you have to like learn how to kind of not really defend yourself, but like get away from an attacker in the water. Let's say somebody was trying to attack you or something. And that was interesting because the one technique that I remember is if somebody's trying to like grab, let's say somebody's trying to grab you around the neck and you're in the water. If you, I'll show you this. If somebody's trying to grab you, I know this has nothing to do with it has nothing to do with this project, but it's still interesting. So I'm trying to grab you from behind. Like let's say I'm trying to grab myself, whatever. Let's say I'm on a chokehold like this. If you put your neck, rip the mic. If you put your neck down like this, it makes it easier to get out of a headlock. So like put your head, tilt your neck, your chin to your neck, or no, chin to your chest. That helps you slip out of if somebody's trying to grab you. That's like the one weird tidbit that I remember. So now you know. Oops, let's go back to soldering. So that's just weird life lesson stuff that I just remember. Some things. I mean, I can't remember everything. There's a lot of like just general camping stuff that if, like somebody's like leg breaks, like what do you do? Or that's not life-saving, but that's just, I don't know. I know. So people are just like, who the heck asked for that? Shut up. Okay, so this is one of the PLCCs. We can do that. Let's see. This is U2, which is the I think this is the what is it called? Oh, the serial port, the UART connector. So these are pretty straightforward to solder on. They have a corner cut that matches the solder, the silk screen. I guess I should have done this first. Oh well. So let's do this. We're just going to solder one of the pins and then like push it down so that's flush. And then let's solder a pin on the opposite side, and then I can do some drag soldering. That'd be quicker. Okay. Now let's do got my knife edge tip. Okay, it's just visual inspection. Yep, I think everything looks good. Okay, cool. Put that aside. Moving along. We have some, oh, so this is actually U5 IC, so let's put those aside for next time. JP1. Well, there's a JP1 on here. Okay, maybe it is for this. Where's my thing? I like how this is coming along. Very nice. Oh, I never buy. I always buy the pin headers, but I never buy the jumpers. I'll have to buy like a big old pack of jumpers. That's something I don't have. Okay, I think that's for this up here, J1. How do I solder this? I guess like that. Okay. Nice. Okay. See if we can find the other PLCC socket. So what is it called? It would be. Oh, actually, is it in my DigiKey stuff? Maybe I put it aside already. U3 is what? Oh, this up here. Okay. So that's U3. Oh, here it is. U1 is the other PLCC socket. This should be a big chunky boy. Oh yes. Same thing for this. I believe we're looking for the cutoff. So this one is a little bit harder to determine which side is which. There's 3 rounded ones, and then there's one that's cut off at a 45. So it's better to look at the edges. So these are like this one's round, this one's round, this one's round, that one's flat. So that's the one that goes to the flat here. I might have screwed myself by putting that, because now that's a little taller than this. But that's fine. We'll do the old solder one side. Push it down thing. And then solder the opposite side. Push that down, and then we can drag solder. Okay. Getting there. Do. Also, eventually, I would like to look into PicoMem. I know Reventlo mentioned it to me on Twitter today, and it's on my radar. PicoMem is another Raspberry Pi Pico-based ISA project. The other one that I know is the Pico Gus, the Gus clone card. The Gravis ultrasound, I should say. I think the... Is this the actual chip? Yeah, that. Well, I might cover that in the future sometime. I just want to get the main, like the traditional Micro 8088 done with, and then we can look into emulation stuff more. I mean, okay, so that's another clock crystal. Are these the other? No, this is the ROM. I think the ROM chips. I think. FDC2, what is in here? Oh, look at that. That's the actual UART chip, I think. Looking for more sockets. Sockets really tie the PCB together. Oh yeah, look at that. It's really nice. Yep, I agree. And it's much nicer for working on it in the future. Just pop stuff out if it doesn't work, and Bob's your uncle. I guess we could do the, well, let's do the serial port, I guess. Probably gonna mess up my soldering elsewhere, but it's here. And actually, I did 3D print. I'm not gonna do the cutting the slot thing, because in the BOM you can order a metal slot thing. I 3D printed one. So this will go here. And then this 3D printing bracket goes on there. So that's your slot for your slot cover for that. Okay, so all I did was I just put it in. There's two like grounding / rigidity tab things here. So those are for ground and for just kind of stiffening it up the connection to the board. This connector, you don't really have to worry about making it flat because those clips kind of do the job. Oops. Okay, let me do these. So that's the serial port for, let's see, is my serial mouse handy up here? Or is it in the basement? No, I have a PS2 mouse here. Oh well. Okay. All right, cool. So that's the serial port. Let's move on. We only have so many left. This is P1. P1. Oh, this is the actual floppy drive connector. Interesting. Ooh, look at that. Fancy. Let's see if we can figure out which way it goes. Is it on the silk screen? No, it's not. Okay, well, Unfortunately, I'll have to look it up. You can use serial to PS2 adapter. I think that depends on the mouse. Some mice like that and some don't, and some drivers and stuff do or don't. Eventually, I would like to try out that USB. What is it called? There's a project where you can convert a USB keyboard and mouse to any other protocol. So like, you could do PS2, so USB to PS2, USB to AT, which is the AT style keyboard, USB to serial. I can't remember, but it runs off of a Raspberry Pi, I think. So that's another one I want to do. Let's look at the photo. Okay, so in the photo, I'll just, without switching, the photo, it's down, the connector is down. The little, there's a gap in the, because the floppy connector is directional, there's this little gap here that faces down, like that. So that is what I will do. This is probably going to be the, well, no, we can keep looking for the other stuff. Don't want to jump the gun. Okay, switch over to the knife edge. Let's see, is it straight? Oh, it's not straight at all. Okay, that's better. That's all the motherboards I've seen. Oh, that's cool. I didn't think about that. I never really noticed the pattern, but I guess that makes sense. Or, well, it's not obvious that down is the quote-unquote right way, but I meant it's obvious that there's a standard, or that should be a standard, you know? That's what I was trying to say. It's been a very long time before these retro computer things that I even thought about floppy or IDE, so... Nice. Wow, look at that. Look at the floppy connector. Jeez, that really fills out the space. Okay, so now I have... Okay, so not missing, but I got to find U1. Or no, this is U1 maybe? Oh, U4 and U5. I don't know what those are. They're probably, maybe I put them in the wrong pile, but this is U6 and U7. Okay, and then we're just going to remember that the little notch, half moon notch on this left side here is going to match the notch on the board. So this is 6 and 7. right. Okay. And then we'll do U7. Same thing. Oh, and then U3 also I gotta look for. Geez, what happened to all these missing sockets? They're not missing, I probably just misplaced them in the pile of stuff. Okay. Okay, so that was 6 and 7. Let's see if I can quickly find U5, the socket for U5, U4, and U3. This is the driver IC. That's the actual. Huh. It's possible I misplaced it? Or didn't order it. Oh, it's also possible that I messed up the... Okay, I'll probably have to go through some of the XT things. I think, unfortunately, if you change... Like, let's say you add another piece... I think it messes up the... it messed up my DigiKey... reference designators when I typed them in, so it might have overridden them. So I think I have them. I think they're just with the other card, because the other card has some of the same ICs, so the same sockets. So like this is probably with the XT, and then U5 is what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that is probably on the other card along with that. So I'll have to look at the XT bags and see if I've got my other stuff. Awesome. A lot of master systems have solder issues. Oh, I went to an estate sale this week, and there were 2 master system controllers. Asked what they wanted for them, and they just gave them to me. Wish they had the system, though. Yeah, that's sad. I once owned 6 master systems. They were all dead. Got them in a bundle, sold them all. Yeah, that's something that I would like in the future. Isn't there a master system replacement board, PCB? I'm not sure. I don't often pay attention to stuff for master system. All right, well, I want to thank PCBWay again for sponsoring this video, for providing me the boards, and yeah, without them I really wouldn't be able to do this series, so big thanks to them. Thanks to you guys for watching, or girls, people, because again, I would do it if people, well, no, that's not true. I might do it if nobody was watching. But yeah, it's interesting to me. I like talking about it, even though I'm not the best at. Oh, you can find out more info if you want to. You can find out more info about PCBWay in the description. There's a link in the top. Yeah, I find it fascinating, and I like, sharing it. How to build these, or talking about retro computer stuff, even though it was before my time. I might not do the best job of explaining it, but I hope you can tell that I'm passionate about it, and I like it, so I like learning about it. So if you have anything to share with me, if you think I said something wrong, or if you think I might be interested in a project, a retro project, put it in the comments and I'll check it out. DigiKey, I thought it was Mouser. I have some things from Mouser, some things from DigiKey, so I have some things from both. All right, thanks everybody. I'm hoping that UPS delivers between now and Wednesday. I hope they deliver the cart connector for the Nintendo drawer, because I want to check that thing out with the with the slot that it was intended to have, and not the one that I got. So don't sell yourself short. Yeah, no, I thought about making like slideshows, because sometimes when I rant about things, I don't cover everything that I originally intended to talk about, or maybe it could have just been a little more streamlined, I think. So I thought about doing that, like making little PowerPoints and then just streaming the PowerPoint, talking about the PowerPoint and doing it that way. So in the future, I might do that. But the floppy drive floppy controller is a floppy controller, right? You understand that it allows the computer to have a floppy drive. And wow, this card is actually substantially heavy. There's a lot of components. It's even compared to the PicoGus, there's like nothing on the PicoGus. This is all surface mount stuff on the PicoGus, but the through hole components are like very weighty. Yeah. So all right. Thank you very much, everybody. If you have a comment, please leave it in the comments. We'll be back Wednesday, Nintendo drawer. Next Sunday, we'll be back. Oh yeah. Let me mention that between now and next time I'm doing this stream, I'll have finished populating the XT board, except for the surface mount, because somebody might want to see that in the microscope, because why not? And the floppy drive will be completely populated, except for all the ICs. So we'll go through the ICs. We'll program the ones that we need to program. We'll set the dip settings. We should be able to bang all that out in one stream, and then we can power it on and see what there's to see. We'll see if we can get at least, probably not DOS. I guess DOS is the first thing we've got to do, right? Is install DOS. So we can see if we can install DOS, maybe. See how long that takes. So, all right. Thanks, Cooper. Thanks, RS Matrix. We'll see you guys on Wednesday for the Nintendo drawer.